I've seen people who have a lot of potential, or great potential, who don't necessarily have the discipline or like hit that point of like pro, like I'm gonna do this whether, no matter what.
What are your thoughts on natural talent? Are people born talented?
Mm, I think so. I think everyone's born with a little something, something, and then like I feel like the people who really hone it, those are kind of they go on to become really great at what they do for sure. So I think natural talent is important and give you a leg up. But there are also people out there who just are such hard workers that just have crazy persistence. I have many filmmaker friends like this who are like come from kind of like the Navy SEAL world and will still somehow kind of I guess just beat that craft to death to where they catch up, I think, with the natural talent, in my opinion.
When did you know you had talent?
I don't know if I do. I, I hope so, but um, I don't know. I think like I started making videos when I was like 11 years old on YouTube. And it's because I didn't like school, and that was the only thing that was kind of around me, like a little Windows Movie Maker editing system. I'm like a horrible Dell. But my mom is a very funny person, and if I could ever get her to laugh or uh, pay attention to me, that would be a success. So I think I found through those YouTube videos that was a way of getting that kind of response. And I think once she started showing her friends, and they all thought these little goofy videos I was making were interesting or funny, that's kind of when I knew I was like, oh, maybe I should keep doing this. I like this.
And you grew up between, is it the Pacific Northwest and Peru?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I grew up
okay.
between Seattle and Peru in South America.
Right. So was the grunge movement already passed at that point, or was it still? How come not a musician? How did you know you had talent? I guess to for acting and filmmaking. How come you
Yeah,
didn't want to be the next Eddie Vedder or Lane Staley? Some-
I secretly do.
Oh, okay, okay,
I
you still do.
secretly do
Okay.
want to be a rock star. No, that's an interesting question. I've never been asked that. I went to school with like a lot of musicians, and when I was really young, I also loved to paint, and I was a graffiti artist for a little bit. My mom didn't like that one, but she was so supportive. She got someone to teach me how to get better at it, and So I think when I exhausted all my punk grunge routes, I was like, dang it, nothing is pissing off my parents. They're just supportive. I finally like kind of found my own music, and I think like in editing, for example, or writing, it's very musical to me, or even directing, which I do a little bit of. Oftentimes, I'll find myself communicating like ba 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 like that, do it like ba ba ba, like musically, and half the time people will be like, "What are you talking about?" And the other half, who are more musically inclined, I think, really get it, and that's like a good way of communicating. So it was a lot of punk kind of happening in Seattle when I was living there for sure, but I was a little bit on the outskirts of it, or finding my own punk, if that makes sense.
Well, the skateboarding, I'm sure, worried them, right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
so there
there
you
you
go.
go. Yeah,
You got them
yeah.
to be
So
concerned
that
there.
was a little bit of my street cred being a skateboarder.
Good. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
What does it mean to work so hard that you're eventually sick of it?
I'm not there yet. I haven't worked so hard that I've gotten sick of it just yet. But I mean, I think it's just being a professional. When you work so hard and you feel sick of it, but you keep going, that's I think when you can really decide, oh, I'm a pro at this. Like I will show up regardless of how I feel or what people say. I'm gonna do this.
What comes to mind when you hear the word potential?
The word potential kind of like scares me.
Not in dating, but in acting. Potential in dating is not so great, but potential in career may be different.
Yeah, yeah. The word potential used to be so much more exciting than it is to me now. Like when I started and I heard potential, it was like, that's awesome. Like to me, potential meant like a quick come up in a weird way. Like you have potential, you can make a great jump very quickly. But I guess living in LA and being in the business for a little bit now, I mean, much less long than most people, but still a minute. I've seen a lot of people come in and come out of this system and being discouraged. And the word potential to me, to be honest, kind of like touches my heart in a weird way, where I've seen people who have a lot of potential, or great potential, who don't necessarily have the discipline or like hit that point of like pro, like I'm gonna do this whether, no matter what, that kind of burn out, and it's kind of sad because there's a lot of talented friends I've had who've gone in and gone out of, I guess, Hollywood or their dreams even. So potential's scary. That's what it is to me. I hope I've passed the potential space in my mind and have gotten to the, everyday grind.
And how did you know that you would stick with it? I mean, too, if we want to go back to, and I'm sorry to keep using the Seattle grunge scene, but that's something that I always wish I had been a part of. There were people that unfortunately didn't make it, and died probably way too young and were extremely talented. So how did you know, did you see that around you growing up or hear about it?
Yeah, definitely. And this is getting deep. Yeah, maybe that's why. Yeah, when I hear potential, I do think of a lot of the people I grew up with who were insane musicians or just really great artists, whether they had their singular focus, they're rapper, graffiti artist, skater, like all these things in one, who've passed away, who have overdosed on like fentanyl or something crazy. And that's the crazy thing about, I think, art and artists a lot of the time, is that I think a lot of people get stuck in the idea that like drugs or alcohol or like living a crazy life can fuel your art. And I've been through parts of that myself. But I think ultimately, if you don't sit down and use that kind of those experiences or really like hone in and be like, okay, let me put that back in the shelf and either come back to it or never come back to it again, then you can't really do anything with it. And I've seen a lot of friends of mine and even people I don't know go through that, where they get caught in that a little bit. They see a little success or a little inspiration on the wild lifestyle and unfortunately don't get to do anything with it,
I remember somebody in LA telling me that so many people in Hollywood who stuff comes very easily to them, they don't want it as much. And it really had me thinking about some of the people that I knew. Was that true? Because maybe it was so easy for them, whether people were just, drawn to them naturally and they didn't really have to work too hard because everybody sort of gravitated toward them. But I remember the person said the ones who really wanted it so badly were the ones that it was always kind of out of their reach. And I thought, that might be true in some sense,
Yeah. No, I mean, I can relate to that. I think once you get good at something and the struggle doesn't come as often, it can be not as exciting. I don't know. I think it's addictive almost to have this puzzle you're always working on, whether it's artistic or career or business wise, And I think, even after making my debut feature, I feel like, okay, cool, I've done a coming of age indie drama, like never have to do that again. But meanwhile, that's not true at all, really. But I think that's where the struggling artist that may never be apart from me at this point comes in and is like, you have to struggle more. You have to continue to challenge yourself, which I think can be healthy, but I think it's important for any artist to outsource their opinions with their friends and really take a good look at what their strengths are so they can build on that and make great things. But then again, I would love to like go away for 2 years and like become a sick guitar player, you know what I mean? like, because it's hard. It's so hard, So yeah, there's definitely a balance of, I guess, continuing your natural talent and also challenging yourself, and making money somewhere in there. Yeah.
Where would you go? Would you go to Peru? Would you go to
Oh man, that's a good
Fiji?
If I could just escape and go somewhere.
Play guitar for 2 years.
Yeah, specifically with guitar. It's nowhere cold, because I can't, I live on a farm now. I'm playing guitar outside. This morning it was freezing. I'm like, you know, I'm regressing on my guitar because it's so cold you can't use your fingers. I don't know. I went to Mexico City for a while, and that's where I wrote part of a new script I'm working on. I like that place a lot in the summertime. That's where I would go, Mexico City again.
Okay. And you can always have the fingerless gloves, right?
Yeah, yeah, there you go. That would really make it Seattle, the fingerless gloves.